right now, two important extensions are looming in the next month. One is internal with Jimmy Butler. The other is external with Donovan Mitchell. I think these two events will dictate the direction that the Miami Heat will go this offseason. So I wanted to get your opinion and how you think this whole extension thing will play out with Jimmy and the Miami Heat. We had guests that have joined the podcast in the last few weeks, like David Ramel from Locked On Heat and Big O, say they don't think the Miami Heat are going to give Jimmy that extension. So I was curious about your thoughts on that. And the second part is, do you think Donovan Mitchell will sign his extension with the Cavs? And I asked that because a new report, maybe an hour ago, just came out from Jake Fisher stating that the Cavs are not expected to entertain any offers on Mitchell, Garland, Allen, or Mobley this offseason.
Yeah, I'll do the Donovan one first because I actually just did a hit from my channel on this one, because obviously that's, I think we all got the same national alert on it. And so I went to the original article on it. This is what I would say to that. One, if you listen to Colby Altman, their president of basketball ops, a couple of weeks ago, he's trying to put a good poker face on it. He doesn't think any of their guys need to be broken up. He thinks everything's good right now. Of course he does. He's got a very talented roster and doesn't feel like he wants to go another direction. I'm sure they could do all the talking into themselves that, hey, this can work with just a couple tweaks. I think that anybody who sees what Boston did, every GM is going to feel like they got the chips. They're going to want to keep all the chips. But the thing with the article that came out is it's an article on their coaching search. And I don't think any coach that you're going to want to search for, especially a James Borrego, who's a hot commodity name right now, who's in the mix for maybe your job and the Lakers job. You're not going to go in there and be like, yeah, but also Donovan Mitchell's not staying. Like, you want to put up a brave front. You want to put up like everything is okay with your organization. So I don't think it really says anything as of yet. I don't think we know with Donovan Mitchell, even with him, liking lake shots of Cleveland. Like, you can't go find the best shots on Airbnb to convince me that Cleveland is more beautiful than other places in the country. Like, that's not going to work for me. But I think that we've seen this, that with Donovan Mitchell already with the Utah thing, like, doesn't like to put the front up. Like, he's the bad guy. He's very much like in the ilk of a Damian Lillard, where he likes to be liked, but I think also likes to pull on the organization. So I don't have any intel on it. I just am not ready to throw the towel in on the Cavs thing yet, because I do think Donovan Mitchell also has to realize, like, hey, can this team actually do real winning here, even if I don't have a harmonious professional relationship with my backcourt, because my point guard's agent is going to try and steer him elsewhere, and they're already probably going to lead to other pieces leaving anyway. Or could I try and work my way to a place where I can play with my very good friend? So I'm not ready to put a pin on the Donovan Mitchell thing yet.
Got it. Awesome. And again, the biggest looming internal extension is the Jimmy Butler piece. So just, do you have any predictions or thoughts on how that can end up? Because there's so many different ways that could end, and there's been always situation. So what's your thoughts?
I have said that if he leaves, I feel like the team that makes the most sense for him would be the Knicks, just because of the Thibodeau connection, his agent, and seems to have an affinity for New York. Jimmy's lived in New York. There's all these reports that multiple teams are out there that would give him the extension. I think that's there's only so many guys who, as Pat Riley says, like, Jimmy's a needle mover. Like, there's only so many of those guys that become available. So of course there are going to be teams that are lining up to say, hey, we'll give Jimmy the max. We'll do all this. I think where the Heat come into their hesitation is, they were pissed that this year that they I think felt like the roster bought a little bit too much into what they did the year before, that they could skate in a regular season, turn it on for the playoffs, and Jimmy was a big part of that. And I think that with him getting hurt, you're just kind of lashing out at the end. Like, you're embarrassed because your rival is in the finals, and you just got beat by them in a huge margin, and your players weren't available, and it was a year where you had a record number of starting lineups. So I think Pat will always make these points to call people out in post-game press conferences or postseason press conferences. It doesn't necessarily mean that someone's going to be on the go. I think he just wants his message out there loud and clear because he only gets a couple cracks at it a year. Like he said in that same press conference, Spo is the voice of the organization. So when Pat gets those couple opportunities a year, he's going to shoot from the hip. I don't know if they've made their decision on Jimmy yet. I think because with them, they are, they got black belts in knowing how to deal with Jimmy and know that Jimmy can be a bit of a handful to handle at times. But normally the thing that sets it off the most is you didn't give Jimmy your money. It's never been an issue with the Miami Heat. They've always been willing to give him his money. But with his age, his production, and his durability, all the reasons you guys have heard so far this offseason. So I think ultimately my guess is that, and I'm not reporting this, is just my guess, is that I think they're going to end up giving it to him because I think they want a happy star. And I think that they know there's not many guys that are going to get better that are better than Jimmy Butler. And I think that ultimately they'll feel like a happy star is going to lead to a more productive star. But you never know with Pat. Pat's a gangster, and usually with his aging stars in the past, if I went by past relationships, it hasn't. But this could be different. I mean, because those have bit him in the butt before.